Jesus was preparing his disciples for the fact that he wouldn't always be with them and his departure from this world. So I want to read to you, if I can, just 3 verses from John chapter 14. John 14, 25 through 27. All this I have spoken while still with you. But the Advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things and will remind you of everything I have said to you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid. Well, Jesus knew that the disciples would miss him. He knew also that they would need resources to be able to carry on the work that was there. And he wouldn't leave them without those resources. One writer talked about the benefits of Jesus' departure in dealing with this particular chapter. In fact, chapters 14 through to 17 in John's Gospel are some of the great teaching that we find in the Gospel, particularly about the work of the Holy Spirit in this particular season of the year. He promised to send the Holy Spirit to help the disciples, to empower them, to be alongside them, to be the one that speaks through them. There were limitations before Pentecost. Of course, up till that point, Jesus' ministry, as he walked alongside people, as he reached out to the marginalized and the poor, was usually in one place at one time. But after Pentecost, the gift of the Spirit brings a new and broader possibility into the lives of those disciples and, of course, for all of us as part of the Christian community. Jesus says this, all this I've spoken while still with you. So in this situation where I can only be with you at one place at one time, he speaks these words, but goes on to say, you heard me say, I'm going away and I'm coming back to you. If you love me, you'll be glad I'm going to the Father, for the Father is greater than I. And the gift that he will give to the disciples will mean that his ministry of love and compassion and service would then be lived out through the Christian church in their day and in all days. It would lead them into the fullness of truth. There is, however, something more than this, because the gift of the Holy Spirit to the first disciples and to all of us is a gift of peace. Now, the word peace conjures up all kinds of thoughts in our minds. It is more than just the absence of war, more than just the absence of calamity. It's something deeper. And verse 27 is one of the most oft-quoted verses from John's Gospel. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give you as the world gives. Don't let your hearts be troubled and don't be afraid. What a wonderful gift. A gift of something more significant, more meaningful than we could ever ourselves generate. It's a gift of peace. And if ever we've needed that gift of peace, it is today. When Jesus anticipated the disciples requiring that gift, he knew already that they would have to face up to all kinds of conflict. Very soon after Pentecost, the Christian church knew what it was, many of them, to be scattered away from Jerusalem to many different places. Many of them would have to struggle. Some of the great apostles and leaders of the church would find themselves under house arrest and in prison. The truth is they would need peace in such situation. The peace that would bring them calmness, the peace that would bring them love, the peace that would bring them grace, and the peace, if I dare say it, that would give them power. The power to be able to be Jesus' disciples, his servants, his vessels in the world around them. These gifts are a legacy of love. They're what Jesus decides to leave to them. We talked earlier about people leaving stamps, perhaps, as a legacy to generations that follow. Jesus gave a legacy to the world, and his legacy was of love. His legacy was of peace, and he gave it to us so that we might somehow, as his people, maintain those qualities and those virtues day by day through the same gift of the Spirit. We long to be a people who hear the words of Jesus, but don't only hear them, but put them into practice day by day as we seek to be his people. So the God who has met us in the person of Jesus Christ, who lived and died and was raised from the dead, is no longer locked into one place in Palestine and Israel, but is for all places, for all times, and for all people.